The rain fell softly against the hospital windows, creating gentle streams that caught the afternoon light. In the children's ward, a small girl sat in her wheelchair, her hands folded carefully in her lap. Her name was Emma, and she was 8 years old. She had spent more days in this hospital than she could count. Watching the world pass by through these same rain-streaked windows, Emma's legs had stopped working when she was 5. The doctors used big words that she didn't understand, but she understood the important part. She would need a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Her mother, Sarah, had cried that day, but not in front of Emma. Emma had heard her later, in the hospital bathroom when she thought her daughter was asleep. Today was different, though. Today, a visitor was coming. Emma had heard the nurses whispering about him in excited voices. His name was Mr. James Hartford, and he was very, very rich. He owned buildings that touched the sky and companies that Emma had seen on television. But more importantly, he came to the hospital every month, looking for children to help. Sometimes he even adopted them, giving them new homes and new lives. The nurses had brushed Emma's long brown hair until it shined. They had dressed her in a clean blue sweater that matched her eyes. They told her to smile, to be polite, to make a good impression. But Emma wasn't thinking about any of that. She was thinking about her mother. Sarah worked 3 jobs to pay for Emma's medical bills. She cleaned offices before the sun came up, worked at a grocery store during the day, and took online customer service calls late into the night. Emma rarely saw her mother without dark circles under her eyes, without tiredness weighing down her shoulders. But Sarah always smiled when she came to visit. She always had a story to tell or a small treat hidden in her purse. The door to Emma's room opened slowly. A tall man stepped inside, and Emma knew immediately that this was Mr. Hartford. He wore an expensive suit, but his eyes were kind. He walked carefully, as if he was afraid of disturbing the quiet peace of the room. Behind him stood a woman with a clipboard, probably his assistant. "Hello, Emma," Mr. Hartford said, his voice warm and gentle. He pulled up a chair and sat down beside her wheelchair, making sure they were at the same eye level. "My name is James. I've heard wonderful things about you from the nurses." Emma nodded, suddenly feeling shy. She twisted her hands together in her lap. "I understand you like to draw," James continued, noticing the sketchpad on her bedside table. "May I see?" Emma reached for her drawings and handed them to him. They were pictures of flowers and birds, of sunshine and gardens, of all the places she dreamed of going. James looked through each one carefully, taking his time, really seeing them. "These are beautiful," he said, and Emma could tell he meant it. "You have real talent?" They talked for a while. James asked her about her favorite colors, her favorite foods, what she liked to read. He didn't ask about her wheelchair or her illness, which Emma appreciated. He talked to her like she was just a regular girl, not a sick one. Finally, James leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "Emma, I would like to help you. I have a home with rooms that are perfect for a wheelchair. There are gardens you could draw, and teachers who could help you with your art. You would never have to worry about hospital bills again. You could have a real childhood." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "I would like to adopt you, Emma. Would you like that?" Emma's heart began to pound in her chest. This was everything the nurses had hoped for. This was the miracle they had whispered about. A new life, free from worry, free from pain. She should say yes. Any other child would say yes. But Emma thought about her mother. She thought about Sarah's tired eyes and worn hands. She thought about how her mother sacrificed everything, every single day, just to keep Emma cared for. She thought about how Sarah would be all alone if Emma left. Still working 3 jobs, but now with an empty apartment to come home to. "Mr. Hartford," Emma said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please don't adopt me." James blinked, surprised. His assistant looked up from her clipboard, her mouth opening slightly. The rain continued its gentle patter against the window. "Please," Emma continued, her words coming faster now, tumbling out like water from a broken dam. "Please don't adopt me. Adopt my mom instead." James sat back in his chair, confusion crossing his face. "I don't understand, Emma." Tears began to slide down Emma's cheeks, but she kept talking. "My mom works so hard. She's so tired all the time. She's given up everything for me. If you adopt me, she'll be alone, and she'll keep working herself to death trying to pay my bills." Emma wiped at her. tears with the back of her hand. "But if you adopt her, if you help her, then she can be with me. She can rest. She can be happy again." The room fell silent except for the rain. James stared at Emma with an expression she couldn't quite read. His assistant had set down her clipboard, her own eyes glistening. "You want me to help your mother," James said slowly. "Instead of taking you away from her, I want you to help us stay together," Emma whispered. "That's all I really want." James stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the rain-soaked city. He stood there for a long moment, his shoulders rising and falling with a deep breath. When he turned back around, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Emma," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you are the most remarkable child I have ever met." He came back to her side and knelt down beside her wheelchair. "I came here today thinking I knew what helping meant. I thought it meant giving a child a new home, a new life. But you've taught me something much more important. You've taught me that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is keeping a family together." He reached out and gently took Emma's hand. "I'm not going to adopt you, and I'm not going to adopt your mother. But I am going to help both of you. Your mother's hospital bills will be paid. She won't need to work 3 jobs anymore. And I'm going to make sure you have the best medical care, the best teachers, and all the art supplies a young artist could ever need. You and your mother will stay together, in a home that's accessible for you, where you can both finally rest." Emma's tears flowed freely now, but they were happy tears. "Really?" she whispered. "Really," James promised. "Because you're right, Emma. The best thing I can do isn't to take you away from the person who loves you most. It's to make it possible for that love to flourish without the weight of the world crushing it." Outside, the rain began to slow. The clouds parted slightly, and a ray of sunshine broke through, painting the room in golden light. Emma smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in a very long time. Soon her mother would arrive for her evening visit, and Emma couldn't wait to tell her that their prayers had been answered. Not by being pulled apart, but by being held together, stronger than ever before.